I'm Kathy Hester, and welcome to my kitchen on this. It's Thursday. It's a Thursday. I was going to say on Wednesday. I guess I just skipped it. So, on this beautiful Thursday. So, today we're going to make something really yummy, and I have a new friend to introduce you to. And is it Kathy Levin or Levine? Levin.
Levin.
Okay, so it is what I was going to say, but people are picky about their names. So Kathy Levin is coming on to join us. We first met on Clubhouse. So it was it a year ago that we were doing Clubhouse all the time? So I was on the Clubhouse a ton. And so it was just really fun, and we talked a lot about like making food or how people can do things differently. And so it was just such a pleasure to have you here on Plant-Based Chat and have you meet all the different people. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name's Kathy Levin, and I'm a dietitian for about 31 years. And I'm also a diabetes educator, and I'm also board certified in lifestyle medicine. So,
Oh,
lifestyle medicine, yeah, it's the science of, I like to say, controlling the controllables. So, that means, for example, eat well, right? Plant-based, whole food, naturally low in fat and sugar and things like that. Um, Sleep well, move your body, right? Get out there, do some walking, whatever feels good to you. And then de-stressing and also connecting with other people. So it's all of that together. And that's how I work with people, both one-on-one and in groups. So um, I have been, like I said, been a dietitian 31 years. I've been a diabetes educator about 20. And for me, I didn't even know about lifestyle medicine, and plant-based was not on my radar until it's only been 5 years. So I was fortunate enough to be asked to be in the Ornish Lifestyle Medicine program. And it through that was I saw the power of plant-based food and how it can actually prevent and reverse chronic disease. The people in our program had heart disease, and their blockages would actually reverse. So it was pretty impressive. Oh, I cannot hear you.
it's just going to be you. There you go. It's all you.
Okay, there.
That's
There we
all.
are. Perfect.
You're still just showing the same stuff you were showing before. And you can keep talking. Basically, I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
doing this to, I was trying to not show that I was leaving to grab my other computer for something.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. Okay. So, one of the recipes that was inspired by the Orange program was that what we make today is easy edamole. And you might say, Kathy, why are we not using the avocado, right? Why are we not just doing guacamole? So, or I'm sorry, not guacamole, but the avocados are very dense in naturally occurring fat. And so they, in Ornish, they weren't allowed to have very much added fat or any fat at all, frankly. And so this is kind of an alternative. And you can always put your own twist on anything. And I say that with every recipe. So, for example, um, I would say start with your favorite recipe, and it could be a recipe that was handed down after generation and generation, or it could be a newer recipe, but you want to look at it based on your own flavor preferences and also your health issues. So you could take it. The first thing I look at would be like, does it have fiber? I always want to get more fiber in. The more fiber, the better. The more diverse fibers, in other words, you're getting lots of different fibers, the better. You go ahead.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Oh, now you can.
Now we can. There you go.
So
Okay.
what are the different kinds of fibers? So would that be like difference between oat fiber and bran fiber and cauliflower fiber, or is it something that, like tell me what that means?
So when I say diverse, right, I mean getting fiber from fruits, veggies, whole grains. That's your primary area, right? And then getting different colors of fruits and veggies, because every single fruit and veggie is going to have different fibers, even amongst the same kind, right? So like when you look at potatoes, there's purple potatoes, there's white potatoes, there's sweet potatoes, all different fiber and phytonutrients. So those phytonutrients, right, are all the good stuff that keep us healthy. And they only come in plants. So that's why you want to focus on getting a variety of all of those. Same thing with whole grains. So you want to get a variety of whole grains. So you want to get like different, like oats or, my brain is going blank. Every oat in the world. What is going on? Like quinoa, oats, farro, all of those different things. Also amongst those, and legumes. Legumes fall in there too.
Okay.
In terms of a great source of fiber as well.
Okay, great. Because that's something that we kind of need to know the differences of, because I think one thing that I try to do a lot is I assume a lot. And so I try to break things down. And since you're like fancy nutrition lady, and I'm just the person who makes recipes, so I want to get all the good details out of you that I can.
Sure.
So I'm going to let you go back to talking about the edamole, and then at some point I probably will interrupt you with more questions.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to make this edamole, and I'm going to just adjust my camera down. Right. So it has 2 cups of shelled edamame. Okay. So I was sharing with Kathy earlier, I couldn't find it shelled. So I had to buy it in the shell. And then I had my son help me. And then at the very last minute, I went, I wonder if I do have a bag. And I did. So we shelled half and we had the other half. So you're just going to use something like a NutriBullet or something like that. So we're going to put the 2 cups in. And then another thing. So, okay. So edamame, let me get it there. Young green soybean. So where I live, these grow out in the fields, like seriously, really close to me. These are all over the place. So to shell it, right, I'm just going to pop it open like that. And they're there. So you're going to have 2 cups. So this is soy.
So
then
Kathy,
we're going to put...
I'm going to ask you another question, and I'm not going to change the camera, so don't worry about moving yours.
Okay.
So I know I see whole soybeans sometimes at the farmer's market. If I got those instead of gotten the frozen cooked ones, I would just steam them first before I shell them?
Yep, absolutely. Just to cook them, they'll be easier to get out of the pot. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So we have another form of soy. This is silken tofu. So this tofu hasn't been pressed. It's great for creamy types of things like this dip, right? So soy, high in protein, it's got fiber in it, has good fat in it. It's a good source of protein, right? So this is about 6 ounces. Hold on. Sec. There we go.
So is that from the shelf-stable container or the one that has a lot of water in it?
The one that I used was shelf stable.
Okay, so the one that's in that little, however you say it, is.
It's like
the container. And so it looked like you just put it in there. You left some of the water from that container, correct?
Right. So when I went to take it out, it didn't have the water. From sitting there for a little bit, the water kind of separated out. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted people to know that it's okay that there is a little water, but it sounds like it's
Yes.
also okay if you're putting it in, it didn't, because just like you, Kathy, when I'm doing stuff, a lot of times it's a little different because I prepped it ahead of time, whereas if I was
Sure.
cooking it on a normal day, that wouldn't happen. Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely. So then we're going to use some minced garlic, about 2 tablespoons, and it's already minced up. Then you have your choice of green chilies, or you can use chili and adobo sauce. Now, the trick with that is you have to watch the amount. Otherwise, this, and I'm not kidding, it's happened to me before, it will look like baby poo. So watch the amount of chili and adobo. So I'm going to put my chili in to give it a little spice. Now, if you don't like spice, you don't even have to put that in. You can adjust the amount and so on.
And
And then we're going to put.
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
just going to give you a couple of things. We'll start from here. Joanne says she always has shelled edamame in the freezer. She can't walk past them at Trader Joe's. And Lydia's daughter is allergic to avocados, so she's super excited about this. And then
Great.
Joanne also just said, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so normal, I want to say edamole, that's hot. But normally you would use lime. Years ago, I was in Texas, and they put lime and orange juice in, so that's what I do. So that's what I'm going to put in next. So I'm going to squeeze. So I believe my recipe is half a lime, but these are so tiny. I'm going to use the whole thing. So we're just going to squeeze it. I might use my juicer.
Yeah, and those juicers are always so misleading. It looks like you should put in the fruit the other way.
Yes.
So notice that
I'm going to tell you, I did do that for a long time.
Me too.
I did. It's just a trick, right? So I got my jar, lime juice. Now, another thing you can use, have you ever used the crystallized lime or lemon?
I love it, and I've recently discovered it. So I have orange, lime, and lemon on hand at all times. The orange one
Yeah,
is
no,
the
I
only
love it.
one that has some sugar in it. All the rest are like perfectly fine for SOS or SOFAS-free diets. So check that out.
Which one has sugar?
The orange.
Oh, interesting.
I was shocked because I had a friend over and I was giving her the grapefruit ones that I have because while I like grapefruit in some things, I just am adverse to grapefruit. So
I agree.
it's, there's so many things I'm not picky about, but you put grapefruit in a tiki drink or a mocktail, I'm in. But so as we were doing that, I was reading the labels because her son has a lot of allergies. And yeah, I was shocked. And I guess they think the orange should taste a little sweeter.
Oh, interesting. So I decided to do some orange zest just to get the taste of the volatile oils from the orange in there too. So I'm just going to put that in there. So I already zest.
And I like your fancy word, volatile oils.
Woo.
It's like where the yummies are. I talk like a
Yes.
3-year-old most of the time.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And then I'm going to put a little water, and you can adjust it after we get it going. Now, it also calls for, whoopsie there, onion, red onion, chopped tomato, and cilantro.
I
Now,
love cilantro.
If you like it all creamy, then put it in now. I like chunks, so I'm going to put it in after I blenderize it. All right, so we're going to do that.
And Joanne is asking me to make sure to leave us a post to Amazon for purchasing the powdered lime and lemon. I will do that. I think I haven't done it yet. And also, I am a naughty muffin because I did not, and I'll mute you while you're blending and I'll chat. So one of the things that I said I would do too is I made a silken tofu mayo, real simple ones that I would freeze it. and I used all of it. So I'll try and make another one real quick today and freeze part of it and get back to you guys. I love the color on that. It's really, really pretty. I wonder, and I will, okay, unmuting you now so you can tell me. I bet you could put some spinach or kale in there and get a little bit of extra color without like really doing much with the flavor.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm a food sneaker.
I love it. All right. So you can imagine when people come to my house, they're always suspicious of everything I do. They just are. So, all right. So I'm going to put this in the bowl.
Let's go back. And Joanne says it's a nice soft green. It is truly an avocado green, would you not say? Like, anybody have any kitchen memories of Harvest Gold fridges and avocado green stoves?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had that.
We were on the Harvest Gold spectrum, but I kind of wish we were on the
green.
avocado.
Yeah, we had that. We were avocado people.
Ah. Now we know where this comes from.
So like I said, if you were to use chilies in adobo sauce, it's going to look a little bit more yellow orangish. So you decide what works for you. So I'm going to put the red onion in. And again, if you don't like onion, don't put onion in. You can make this be your own. I probably should have mixed this in a different bowl.
You know what? I am queen of too small size a bowl.
Yeah.
Like my friend Howard Jacobson, I don't know if you know him or not. He's in the community. He's always like, don't you think you should get a bigger pan? And I'm like,
nah.
Maybe. Oh, and Joanne is saying that I have a reason to be a food sneaker, and that's because I'm married to a picky eater. And Lydia says it looks so good, and Joanne is on team avocado refrigerator. She had that too.
Excellent.
Ooh, now my favorite.
Cilantro. And again, for those who don't like cilantro, you could use parsley. It's not going to taste the same, but.
Yeah, and you know what you could do too is, and this is me and my food sneakiness, is how I got Cheryl to eat greens and kale. And Cheryl is my wife who is 50-some years old. Some people think she's a daughter who's... But what I did is I would actually mince up kale and other greens so where it looks like parsley, and I would sprinkle it on soups and salads and things like that. So that would be another way that I would use minced kale. Pretend parsley.
Sure. Okay, so then what I did was for you guys.
Ooh.
Right. So then you could serve it. I made these all my homemade tortilla chips, and I used. I'm gonna.
Can you? Oh, I was gonna say, can you move it closer to you, the plate, or just to? Yeah.
So
I haven't seen
protein
those.
Ones. Yes, I like these because they're high in protein and fiber. So one tortilla is, let's see, it's 12 grams of fiber. So the average American only gets 10 to 12 grams of fiber in a day. Ladies should get in 25, men at least 35. So this is half your days for a lady fiber, one of these tortilla chips. So, and I did it in the air fryer.
Okay, so can you show us the chips? Like we could just see the edge of the chips. If you want to move your thing down one more time and just move it. Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's the money shot right there.
Yeah, see?
Except the next part is you eating some of it. That's going to be the next best part. Because we have to live vicariously through you right at this moment.
There you go. And then you could also eat it with veggies too.
I love that idea. And one of the things we wouldn't have to worry about is we can make a double batch, right? Keep it in the fridge. It's not going to oxidize like avocado.
So another trick is instead of having avocado toast, I will often use this.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great base. It's a great base. And then I might put capers on there. I might, what else do I usually? I will put tomato, I will put onion. I use microgreens to kind of bump up that. No, it's so good.
Oh, that's a really great idea, actually, because that's one I don't think about a lot. Now, do you use salt or you don't use salt in general?
In my recipes, no.
Okay.
No, I do not.
So,
Yeah.
do you suggest a salt substitute? And I will tell you my plain salt substitute if someone is interested. Because usually because a lot of them, and even my other, like, general purpose salt substitute, it has a bunch of stuff in it, a bunch of flavors that maybe isn't going to play well with the cilantro or the green chilies. So I do 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of ground celery seed, and mix them all together, or you can even grind them finer. And Joanne told me a friend of hers actually put all of that as a salt substitute in one recipe. So don't do that. Do not do that. Then you use it like it's a little shaker and you shake it because it hits those places that want salt.
Right. So it has that almost flavor enhancing sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Generally, I don't. I just am like, I let the flavor of the food stand on its own. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all either.
No.
I just could. Yeah, the one time when I went to get my computer, I was like, I bet she said salt while I was gone, and I did not hear that, and I was wrong. So, you guys have a link to the recipe. So wherever you're watching, if you look down, I think down below or to the sides, somewhere around in there, and you can go to Kathy's site, Nutritiously Simple. And it is really hard for me to type nutritiously.
Let me just say, I acknowledge that I named my business the hardest name to spell. I do. I wish I had not done that.
Well, and I put it side by side because I was like, oh, I'm so going to mess this up. I'm so going to. And so
I do sometimes when I'm typing it in fast, I'm like, wait, that's not right.
Well, I have, like, again, I try to take everything super simple. But I think that's great. And the recipe is just such a great idea. And I love the idea about putting it on toast. I love looking for those tortillas. I can't have gluten anymore, unfortunately, like really unfortunately.
So these are not gluten-free, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm always looking for some things. And oftentimes, gluten-free options can sometimes have less fiber, too. So I'm working on making some other things. Like one of the things that I do a lot, and you can find it on plantbasedinstantpot.com, is I have an Uttapam recipe, which is an Indian pancake. So, and you'll see a lot of these being talked about, but it's really an Indian thing. And they make dosas, which are crepes with this batter. So it's a fermented batter that's usually urad dal or split black lentils that are super cheap at the Indian market. And rice, if you go out and get those. But I make one with quinoa, brown rice, and millet and urad dal. So basically it's like equal parts of all that. You soak it in your Vitamix during the day, however long you'd like. The longer if you soak it like 6 to 8 hours, you're going to get a much smoother batter, even in a Vitamix. So you soak it, and then I puree it, and it looks kind of like pancake batter. I put it in my Instant Pot and ferment it overnight, and it bubbles up. You don't have to have an Instant Pot to ferment it, but if you have one that has a yogurt setting, it's really easy. So once you get to that point, which I know sounds hard, but literally I'm measuring some stuff, blending it, and putting it into a thing. Like, so it sounds, to say it takes more work than to make it. And that will keep for about 5 days in the fridge. It will keep fermenting and get a little more sour. And then what I do is I make a pancake or something like that, and then I'll use it as a wrap for something. Like, it would be really good to put edamole in or something like that. You can find tons of other like gluten-free tortillas, and obviously corn tortillas are gluten-free. But check to see if it says blend, because now, like at Trader Joe's, there's a corn wheat blend and some things like that. So, oh, and Joanne's saying that she makes flatbreads with red lentils or mung beans, and that is also done, and that still comes kind of from that Uttapam dosa sort of tradition, and Uttappams are usually filled with like this yummy potato filling, and then you have all the chutneys. I don't know if I'm a huge Indian food fan.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, and I've told this story before, but because you can buy Uttapam batter at some Indian markets. So if you just want to go and try it and not have, so it's already fermented for you. And then finally I went back in, and the lady who owned the store shamed me into making my own, and I'm so happy for that. She's like,
that's great.
You can make this at home. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll make it at home.
Sometimes it's just trying hard things. It is. You think in your head it's harder than it is. Absolutely.
And I think that's with so many food things, and I know, and sorry, I'm not saying your name, Facebook user, because it says Facebook user. Flatbread from lentils is amazing, and it is. And I think it's great that we can, Kathy Square. Good afternoon, Kathy Squared. Woo! It's Kathy time. But I think
it is the best name.
Well, and the best spelling of the best name.
Yes.
Right? And so, everybody goes, how do you spell that? And I'm like, how else? But my name proper is Kathy. Is yours?
No, it's Catherine, Kathryn. Yeah.
Oh, it's Matthew that's talking to us. It's good to see you, Matthew. So my name is Kathy, but I've been called Catherine and Kathleen and whatever. I'll answer to just about anything as long as you're saying it nicely. Don't say it nicely, I'm not answering you. So, but kind of like the same thing that you just did with the edamole, though, right? So we've taken some wonderful flavors that we have gotten from some other cultures that we love their food, and you can, I like the way everything builds upon everything, and we're not trying to take away from the original.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think someone was asking me once, how did I learn Indian food? I'm like, I go and I eat Indian food. I go to the Indian market, and if you're a little super pale white lady like I am, eventually some grandma will come and give me a recipe. And you know what? I'm up for it. I go to the Hispanic markets, and if there's a dried chili I don't know, I'm the crazy lady going, is it like this one or like this one? And they're like, I don't know, lady. But no, but usually everyone's excited because they, sharing food culture is such a great way for us all to realize that we have so many similarities, right?
Absolutely.
And so...
and it makes food more interesting. We want to try different flavors and different across cultures.
Yeah, and it's such a neat way. I mean, I will also say a lot of my friendships have started talking about, like my friend Anu that was on Plant-Based Chat not so long ago. She made chaat masala spice blend for us, which was really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I have some over there that I made. Yeah.
Yum. Right? Yeah. And so I actually sprinkled it on an Indian chickpea potato salad that I make all the time that I had never put it on. And it was so amazing. But like we were talking, and I was like, oh, I love Indian food. And we really connected on that. And I think it's also neat to go to all these different kinds of markets because we get to meet different kinds of people. With the pandemic and most people traveling less, it's like a vacation. You get to have something new and learn something new, which is one of the benefits of traveling. And the other benefit is you can get spices for pennies on what you can get it in the grocery store. So like even just a jar of cumin, a brand name, it's marked up like 1,000%. And the same thing with like chilies and, or like you could go to Whole Foods to get your tomatillos which I don't recommend, or you could go to Campari Foods near me and pay less than half the price, right? And you're also then supporting local business people. So it's got this, I like the way that food can bring us all together and support us all and lift us up as a community. And I think
so
that
important.
Yeah. And one of the things that we get to do, because like sometimes people are like, that's not really that or something. So I have a friend, Dora from Dora's Table, and she is a Mexican vegan food blogger. And so she fights those fights sometimes too, right? So it's very interesting to watch everything and to be able to support. And if you guys are looking for some real traditional flavors, definitely go check out Dora's Table. And so Matthew has a question for us. What is the most exotic Indian ingredient that you've cooked with and enjoyed? I would, spice-wise for me, probably black cumin and black cardamom is unusual. And black cardamom is smoked. So it does cost a little more than some of the other spices. And if you're going there, you're getting a bag about like that I've been using for a long time. You use like one pod. So that would be my answer. And it's amazing in dals and beans and things. What about you, Kathy?
I don't make as much as Indian food as you do. So I'm deferring to you. You're the expert on that.
Okay. What's an ingredient that's probably uncommon that you love from another cuisine?
Boy, I don't. Uncommon.
Well, you were talking
I live
about
in the Midwest, so I'm just saying.
We don't deal in stereotypes here. No, I'm teasing.
I'm just telling you the reality.
Well, I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So like for most of my life, I did not have a large cultural view food-wise either. So it was pretty much potato salad, barbecue, things like that. So those were some of the first things that I started recreating, right?
Sure.
And it's one of the reasons, I don't know if you use soy curls at all. Because I know some people feel differently about them, but they are non-GMO soybeans, and the ingredients in soy curls is soybeans. I've had someone try to take me down a couple of weeks ago. They're like, do you want to rethink that because they're genetically modified? And I'm like, did you look at the package or their website? And he backed off.
So soy curls started here locally, actually a town about 30 miles from here. Archer Daniel Midland, they're the ones that came up with all that stuff because they had so much soy they were processing for oil, and it was a byproduct. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's so interesting because, and the first time I had them was at a vegan blogger conference in like 2010 or 2011 in Portland. And I had never experienced them. And actually, I have one of the big 12-pound boxes coming because I made a list of some new recipes. But I make an NC barbecue, so kind of a vinegar-based barbecue, by just making a thin sauce in the slow cooker and throwing the dried soy curls in there and letting them soak it all up. It's the easiest
Sounds
dinner
wonderful.
Ever.
And it tricks people.
It satisfies that chewy thing. So like one of the things I like too about air fryers and things like that is that, because I think especially when people go whole food plant-based or SOS and SOFAs on that, they're doing it for kind of emergency medical things a lot of times. So they're like, I will be pure and I will eat salads 3 times a day. And I have nothing against salads. None of it. And you know what? A good salad, like if I go to someone's house or you ever come to my potluck, bring a salad and I will squeeze you so hard because I love it when other people make me salads. But it's not just about salads. Or like, I made some chili and I made a bunch because my friend just moved here, so I wanted to share it with her too. So like, it's a giant pot of chili made like the old, I don't know if you remember the Fantastic Foods instant chili from like the 80s.
No.
See, I went vegetarian in 1983.
So long before me.
Okay, and we trudged through the snow and the desert just to get soy.
I'm sure.
But there weren't a lot. So this was TVP and spices. And I didn't know how, I was learning how to cook then. I was just 18. But because that's one of my big food memories from that time. And I recreated it with you can use bulgur and millet and quinoa and actually really nutrition it up. Or you could pulse some soy curls and use that, or use whatever ground vegan beef that you like, and beans and spices. But once you have that, then you have burritos, then you have taco salads, then you have sloppy joes if you want to just add some other things in there. And you can take one thing and make it to be so many. And it doesn't have to just be greens, and you do need fiber and some other things, obviously, because my perspective is that I'm a recipe developer. I make recipes and I make them inclusive, so whatever your dietary limitations or allergies are, that we work with that. And so, but I still think that people, sometimes you have bad food cravings, but sometimes you have soul cravings for something, you're craving a memory. Do you find that happens to you as well?
Absolutely. No, that's so true. And I think it is important that you incorporate those things into the way you eat, because then it doesn't sound like you did something bad. I don't believe in bad food. I don't. I think that it makes you a normal human being. And kind of my little saying is, it's the 80 to 90% of what you do that matters. It's not the 10 to 20% when you go and you eat something that is rich or whatever. It's something, if you want to have that thing, have it. Don't deny yourself, because if you do, you're going to just want to eat it more. So, yeah, I do think that that's important.
And I totally agree. And my perspective on that too, even is a lot of people crave chocolate. I'm one of the few people who crave chocolate less than anyone else. Now that I am vegan and gluten-free, I am only allowed chocolate cake out in the world if I were to go. Sure. And so I don't crave it as much, but I made these black bean, kind of devil's food, double chocolate chip cookies. They're oil-free. They do have some sugar in it. You could make them with date paste or some other things. I have all those options. But it's always very interesting to see how, I love it when my people say, I'm craving X. What can I do? And I'm like, I got you. And I really enjoy that. And so Joanne is saying that they said they started making the soy curls when they were in the Peace Corps in Africa. So that could be the Butler's people, which is cool. And Joanne also ate the fantastic food mixes way before I even thought about going to the dark side, the vegan side.
So what was it? What was this fantastic food?
So it's actually a brand. So I'm trying to think if there's, okay, you know what? This is kind of I haven't tried these yet, but this is kind of a modern version. So in this pack, you could hear, so basically it's textured soy flour and spices. So it was always dehydrated stuff. So inside the fantastic food box was a little bag, and there would be, I'm pretty sure it was TVP. I'm sure I never looked either, because it was vegetarian and I was in. It could have been coconut fiber, but no, I'm sure it was TVP or something like that. And spices, and then you would heat up the beans and maybe saute some veggies if you wanted to, and throw everything in with the tomatoes. And it reconstituted it. They also had a falafel mix, because at that point I had never had real falafel, because this was the 80s. And I lived in Winston-Salem. Do you know what I mean? Which is kind of funny, because that's also why, if there's international food that I can try that fits into my diet remotely as no animal products, I'm going to taste it, because I got to know how to make that different.
No, same.
Right. And so the falafel mix, I believe, was just probably besan or chickpea flour and spices, just because you could. So one of the things that I've been doing lately is actually making my own dry mixes. So I have a dry oat cheese mix. I've got a creamy sauce that you could use for like pasta that I've like put in with rosemary and some different things. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know. So I'm
That's
kind of going
nice.
back and like, how can I make these and make these where we can all eat them?
And make it simple.
Yes, because, well,
Yeah.
you know, so if you have a jar of cheese sauce mix, and you can get that recipe on healthyslowcooking.com or on the YouTube channel. I have it both places. It's there. You toast it a little bit, put in some milk. Now you have cheese sauce to go over your leftover baked potatoes and veggies to make one meal a little bit more palatable. Or if you have a picky eater, to put on broccoli to get them to eat. But it has no oil. You can do it salt-free easily and no sugar. And Sherry Jones is saying she's made both of Dora's pozole recipes and she felt like she had been transported to Mexico. Her recipes are amazing. And hopefully she'll be coming on to the plant-based chat too. I did some Clubhouse rooms with her, and she's a lovely person. She has a great tamale cookbook too. So if you look that up. Oh, Valerie's here. The Kathys say hello back to you. I'm speaking for you, Kathy, now. And Joanne is saying my cheese mix is like making mac and cheese from a box. And originally it was called Not From a Box Mac and Cheese Recipe.
So funny.
And I think, talking about going back to your Midwest or my limited worldview way of growing up on food, which happens to a lot of us regionally, I think it is kind of fun to reach back into some of those, because I have made mac and cheese with it. But you could also put it over zoodles.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just finding those things and what works for you that you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, food should be enjoyed, right? We're not just eating to just shove it down. It's about the flavor. It's about the gathering and the people that you're with and all of that all together, for sure.
I think it's so true. And I think it rings more true to me now, since we had so much time where we weren't gathering with people as much. You know, and now that my friends have moved here, though, they don't move into their house for a couple of months, though they're living here. And it's interesting because we're actually going to their house for dinner. So we're doing more of that, which is a lot of fun. And
that's cool.
You get to play games.
We have, no, I think that's amazing. We have twice a week. My mom is almost 89. She'll be 89 in July. But she wants us to still have family meals, so we go to her house twice a week. She also has adopted plant-based eating for 2 out of 3 meals. She always says, I won't eat meat once a day. So God love her that she's changed, even at this age, that she sees the value in it. And she always tries to make sure I have something I can eat. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, I love that, and I love how things grow. And Matthew has another question for both of us. What, if any, influence does fermented foods play a part in your plant-based lifestyle? So I think he's saying lacto-fermented vegetables, to be precise, not yogurt or other dairy. Although I would say non-dairy. I do make my own yogurt most of the time. I have a fermenting jar, and I have a kombucha starter, which I've done nothing with. So over the pandemic, I read a lot of fermentation books. Ta-da! But I love eating other people's ferments. How about you, Kathy?
I'm the same way. I have a dietitian friend that she does all the things like that. But I just went to an online conference yesterday where they talked about fermented foods and things like that and how good it is for your gut. And again, we want to keep our gut healthy. It drives 70% of our immunity, 90% of our serotonin and stuff like that. So that's where having that fiber and the fermented foods, I think, is a great way to feed that good gut bacteria. Yeah, I love other people's, but I don't want to have to go to that myself. It's just not something I'm doing right now, I guess.
See, I want to, but like I'm starting so many different content development things, and I'm still kind of working on a book. I'm doing kind of 2 online shows plus other YouTube videos plus putting recipes in the 2 blogs. So, but
it's a lot.
Yeah, I want to do something fun for me. And I think I will tell you this, and this is why I'm a good teacher. It's because I'm not the best student. Because I can catch you guys and I make sure I kind of cover up any of those humps that might make you feel like, oh, that's too hard. Like I have a friend, oh, I'm going to make pupusas. Oh, we'll never make pupusas. Like, dude, pupusas are super, super easy. Like, that's why people made them when they were in a hurry. Like, right? And it's just because we think now, oh, I have to make a dough and I have to do this thing. It's like, you mix some water, possibly salt, with masa. Then you can even take and we did this, we took a can of beans, I did a can of bean class. We smushed up some black beans and we put all these different seasonings and stuff in them and we stuffed them in that or arepas. And even there, I will say me too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'd really like a pupusa. Oh, that's so much work. But also sometimes that's the same me that goes, oh, I really have to go to the bathroom. Let's just wait a little while. Like it has no sense in logic. It's just that voice that's like, you're very tired. You don't, I feel like, there's some voice in my head that's like, these are not the droids that you are looking for. No, you want to sit down. No, you do not want to take a walk. You don't want to drink your water. It's that voice.
Yes. I have a friend who's a cognitive behavioral therapist, and she always talks about how your brain wants to keep you safe. So sometimes being safe is, I don't want to go for a walk, or I don't want to drink my water, or I don't want to, eat healthfully, or whatever it is. Yeah.
I love that. And I like that way of thinking about it too, because it is like something's always trying to kind of, but it's always interesting how we have to prioritize things to get them done. Even when if I take a walk, I always feel better. Always. So, and Matthew was saying that he really enjoys making fermented foods, and if I'm interested in any samples, let me know. Well, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Of course I am. The easy answer. And Lydia says she always has that voice in her head. And I think we all do. And I do talk about, one of the things I've been talking about lately, just in general, is how people have a little bit less energy. And I think it's just year 3 of the pandemic, and I know some people feel like it's all done. I don't quite feel like that yet. I'm still,
Sure.
And however you feel is perfect and appropriate for you. I'm not trying to, just
right.
If I'm making a recipe and I show it with oil and I tell you it doesn't need oil and this is how you can make it, I would never tell you to eat oil, right? Never. But also sometimes the oil eating people need to be included. That's the way.
I agree 100%. And that's my whole philosophy too, right? Is I show you how to do it this way, but if say you don't have X, Y, or Z ingredient, use this instead. Or there's the other. I'm all about what do you got in your pantry, fridge? What do you like? And then tweak it to work for your own household, sort of thing.
And I think that's so important. And I try to do that in my classes too. So I teach 2 online cooking classes a month. And I always have different alternatives. Or sometimes if it's a recipe I've had and I realize the day before I didn't have an ingredient or 2, I use that as an opportunity to talk about how you can substitute things or how you can pivot.
Yes.
Right? And if you couldn't have found the edamame, I suspect there's a couple of ingredients you would have used instead.
Yeah. No, I contemplated a couple of other things. I mean, I think you could even use lima beans or peas. That would have worked and made it, yeah.
Chef AJ uses peas, I think, for sure. And peas are one of the other foods that I'm kind of I like mushy peas in soups. I can have peas in a curry, but just pea. I think I had a bad experience when I was 10. I went not really camping, but into the woods with some people. We were hanging out for the day, and they made pea salad. Do they have that in the Midwest? Because that was nasty. Okay, so I'm into a lot of salads: potato salad, coleslaw, all the things that have the mayonnaise and the spices and the mystery things. but there were just peas in there. Nothing
There was
else
only peas.
but peas and
How is that
mayonnaise.
salad? It was peas and mayonnaise.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
oh. So anyhow, so I got to try the pea guacamole just to get over it. And also, my picky eater will eat all the peas.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which is just, so it's just really funny. And then Matthew says that you have a beautiful website, Kathy.
Oh,
So I want to
thank
pass
you.
that on.
Thank you.
And so tell us what other things do you have for us? Is there anything that you want to share with us?
So, first of all, to get all my goodies, if you go to nutritiouslyimple.com, I think it's /, it's either forward or back, and put goodies, or go onto my Instagram, which is plantbased.simply, much easier to spell. Don't forget the dot, though. You can get through it at the link in the bio there too, but it'll take you there. And I put all my freebies on there and things like that. I'm also beta testing right now. I'm getting ready to release a plant-based whole food meal plans. Every week you'll get a new meal plan. They're also customizable. You can change the recipes. You can pull other recipes over from the database, but they've been curated by me as the dietitian. So they're high in fiber, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and then lower in fat, salt, and sugar. So yeah. So if you're interested in that, I'm betaing it. I am happy to give you a link so you can at least get like a week or so free. Try it out. Take it for a test drive, sort of.
That sounds good. So 2 things I would like you to do with that, because I can't just put in a comment here anymore. I used to be able to and have it go all the places.
Okay.
But if you would particularly put it on YouTube and email it to me if you want, I will put it in my next email as well, so that people can get an opportunity.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, what prompted you to kind of work on that? Did you get a lot of requests?
I have had it for a long time. So I have 2 different software I use, and one was more digital PDFs, and I've had the other one and honestly didn't have the time to sit down and go through and get all the recipes in there and then balance everything. Like I try to make sure there's at least 2 servings of fruit, 3 veggies, get the whole grains in, and enough protein as well. So yeah, it took a little time. Yeah.
I bet it took more than a little time.
It did.
You guys who don't do blog things or recipe things, have you ever done a house project? And you're like, oh, I can do that this afternoon. And then you realize a month later, you're almost finished. That's what sometimes these things are like.
Yes. And I always say I have an alternate sense of time where I always think everything won't take very long and it takes way longer.
I think most of us have that, but somehow society has taught us that is not the norm. And it seems everybody I know lives in that world. Like Cheryl is always frustrated. She's like, well, I thought it was just going to take a little while. And I'm like, that room was full of boxes. Like not nice Southern full of boxes where there are 3 boxes. We're talking like 20 boxes. How could you do that in a day?
Yeah.
With a team? Yeah, I think in our heads, we all think that we have a team. That's what I've decided. Because I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll get this done. And then I'm like, oh, I got to pull out some pictures. Right? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
So
now I do have on my team my mother, who has been proofreading. It's hysterical. I always say she's my biggest fan and harshest critic all at the same time, because she goes through, she's made a spreadsheet, she's looking at each week, she tells me everything that she doesn't think is worded correctly. I'm like, okay, you do you, and it gives her something to do.
That's awesome. My friend Dawn does that.
For
so for a while she actually has the logins to my sites, so she could just go and when she sees something, fix it.
I love that.
I'm focusing on, what I'm good at explaining things. Like I had someone who I thought was going to be like, who is an editor, who I thought was going to rip me in half, who actually said, no, I didn't have to do much. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, is she just being nice? Because that doesn't, I feel like I'm the reason editors are invented. Not because everything is so bad, but because I really do start to write how I talk. You know, we don't talk grammar correct or how do you say the
Grammatically.
Grammatically. Thank you. Middle-aged lady.
Hey, I understand that.
Exactly. And so it's both a superpower and an issue. So the reason I think people like my recipes is because I break everything down. I use my testing team to help me try and cover all my bases and things like that. But then sometimes you end up fighting with people over little things, and I'm like, no, you've just changed that to mean not the correct thing.
Yeah, no, that's my mom. I'm like, no, that doesn't, what you're saying does not matter. I need it to be worded this way, so it's okay.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing and an interesting balance. So what are you having for dinner tonight? Do you know yet?
I have not gotten that far in my head.
And that is perfectly fine. I just thought I'd ask. I don't have a cool, like, in the plant-based chat asking question, but I think maybe that's going to be it. Because if you ask me, you know what I'm having? I'm going to my friend Dawn's, and she's making red beans and rice. Well, she's making the red beans, I'm bringing the rice, and I might bring a surprise if I have time.
We'll probably have some sort of pasta is what I'm thinking, is in my head right now. Because we're going to do pasta. I love legume pasta just because it's got the protein and fiber, and then have some veggies and stuff like that with it. Easy, fast, weeknight meal.
Oh, I love that. And like a couple of things that I think are really good, especially now, is like you can make a kale pesto or a kale stem pesto. I even have like a kale stem creamy sauce. And you can, any of these things that I say kale, you can put collards or Swiss chard, or I just probably wouldn't do it with mustard greens if I were you, but you do you, but I suspect you won't like it. Mustard greens bite back. So, but yeah, I like doing that. Like, I think I have an oregano pesto, but I don't think our oregano is in full force at the moment either. Oh, and so Matthew is inviting us. If we ever come to North Texas, he'll cook for us.
Oh, fun.
My friends just moved from Katy near Houston, so I don't know when I'm going to be in Texas next, but I will take you up on it for sure. Well, Kathy, it has just been such a pleasure to get to chat with you again, and we have to do more of this.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Any parting words?
No, just try to keep your diet as diverse as possible. That's probably my biggest takeaway. If you can have a variety of things, it's great. I use as my example here, at least I hear constantly, is that people have a banana breakfast with whatever, right? But they eat that every day. That's okay, but maybe one day have an apple, one day have another piece of, just change it up. Variety is really the spice of life, I do think.
I like that. That's a great idea too. Like sometimes I get into a rut for sure, and I love that. And Joanna's saying she loves the greens of mustard greens. And I'm not saying the greens of mustard greens are bad. I'm just saying if you're making something strong like a soup or a pesto with them, you might be a little shocked. But if you know what you're doing and you like your mustard greens, you proved me wrong. And I want the recipe. And awesome. Well, you guys, everybody have a good rest of your week. Take care of yourself. Eat some edamole, because I might have to go to Trader Joe's. I've got to go to the store to get a few things, so I think we might be having that too. And Kathy says she's going to, another Kathy with a C is going to come and watch the replay. Yeah, you want this edamole. It looked really good, and it's so easy. And Joanne says she doesn't use the stems very often on her mustard greens. And Apple is here. and missed it, but we are glad that you came to see us at all. And you guys, I'm going to be doing an Amazon Live tomorrow at 1 p.m. We're going to make ginger shots and vegan mango lassies in my Multo Cooking Pro. If you don't have one, you can find other alternatives. Wink, wink, and talk to me about it. Email me to ask me about that later. Okay, so you know the drill. If you have a little bit of energy, do at least one kind thing for yourself, a little self-care, take a walk, read a little book, listen to a bird, whatever you need to do. And then if you have just a tiny bit more, do something kind or sweet for somebody or something else like your pet. That even includes going and rubbing on your dog's head, which is a win-win to me. Okay, you guys, and big hugs, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.